How are we doing, folks? Welcome back to the Nightmare Cabin and welcome to episode 16 of Rushcast. I'm joined by my hetero life mate, Paul Conroy, drummer extraordinaire of Audio Scope. Check out their debut album, Secrets and Lies. And Paul, how have you been?
I've been good, Joe. It's been quiet, but
Just how you like it.
Yeah, just reasonably well rested. I mean, I had a rehearsal last night, which was fun, and yeah, it's I'm okay. But you've been a bit busy, as you were telling me off air.
I've got podcasts and videos coming out of my ears, but
You're
busy's
still
how we
going.
like it.
Yeah.
So this is Rushcast. This is the show, if this is your first episode, where we are going through week by week, well, not strictly week by week, but episode by episode of the entire Rush back catalogue. We have 15 episodes in. Last week we did Counterparts. And this week we are doing a slight detour. And we are talking about the debut solo album. Although, is it a solo album? We'll get into that. But this is Victor under Alex Lifeson. And this came out just before the same year, but this came out in January. And then in September, we had Test for Echo, which we'll be covering on the next show. And do you know much about this project? Because you've been the fan of Rush that's been there on release date and stuff like that. Was this heavily promoted at the time?
No, it wasn't. Knew of it, and at the time of its release, which, as you said, it was really early 1996, 9th of January. I didn't buy it. I listened to it a couple of times, and I think because it wasn't what I expected, it was interesting to listen to, but I sort of just had a couple of listens and then I just sort of left it, really. And needless to say, building up to this show over the last couple of weeks, I've listened to it several times, and I suppose because
my camera's
older,
gone all blurry. I'm just trying to...
Yeah, it's just because it's a little bit old. I'm a little bit older. I don't know, just listening to it a little bit differently to what I did before. Yeah, it's been an interesting listen. What have your feelings
This
about
is the
it,
first... I bought this album in order to do this show. So I didn't realise where we was doing Maiden Cast, we said, we'll do every solo album and everything in between. And there was a lot more. There was just as many... there's just as many shows of solo projects as side projects as there was Iron Maiden albums, but we haven't got that much to go into with Rush. I knew of Geddy Lee doing a solo album because I'm really angry with myself, but I had a Terrorizer magazine where Geddy Lee was interviewed promoting this album.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't mean much to me at the time, and I did get rid of a bunch of magazines because I am a bit of a holder when it comes to this stuff.
Yeah.
And be it moving house or just when I moved a lot of stuff into here, a lot of stuff had to go. And along the way, some magazines have gone. A lot of magazines have gone. And for this show, I remember there being an interview with Geddy Lee promoting that album, and that would have been really handy for this. And to my shame, I got rid of it, and I'm really annoyed with myself. But this I'd never heard of. I'd only realised that it was released. So hopefully the camera refocuses.
Yeah, that's seeing it.
So I got this specially for doing this show. So this week was the first time I've listened to it. It's a bloody weird album, isn't it, folks? Is there any objection to that? I will say, though, over the last day, maybe yesterday, I felt like it started to click, and I felt myself warming to the album today.
Yeah.
Although there is a lot wrong with it. So, but there's stuff on there. I was like, actually, I quite like that. Oh, well, no, that's quite interesting. And But yeah, I think I'm not sure. Well, I don't know where to start really. Shall we get into this?
We
Or
can either get into songs, or have you got anything leading, like anything in your book?
there's
I haven't
nothing.
got
It's not even.
much.
It's not mentioned in my
Not
book.
even mentioned. Okay.
And going through some stuff, actually, I found this. And again, why have I only just found this now? This has been on my shelf the whole time.
All right.
And yeah, this goes through. Do you remember when Clockwork Angels came out?
Yeah.
This is the magazine you got with it.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got people going through the albums here. You've got article.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, why didn't I get this at the beginning of the show? It could have been.
Never mind. I've got mine somewhere, but I don't know where it is. I know I wouldn't have thrown it out, but
Yeah.
it's stashed away somewhere.
Nicky Wire on A Farewell to Kings, Steve Wilson on Hemispheres, Taylor
Mm-hmm.
Hawkins on Permanent Waves,
Yeah.
Bill Kellier from Mastodon on Moving Pictures, Terry Brown on Signals, that's the producer, so it would have been Kevin J. Anderson on Grace Hood Under Pressure, who I think wrote the Clockwork Angels book. Yeah, Peter Collins on Hold Your Fire.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, could have done with this.
Well, it doesn't matter. I mean, we found plenty to talk about on those albums
That's
anyway.
true.
So
But
it
there's nothing in this that I can
no.
think I can see of Victor.
Right. Okay. What I'll tell you what I can do. I mean, I've got a little bit on the album here, but it's not a huge amount. But it might be a way of sort of getting us into it.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. As you said, you've already said that it was released 9th of January 1996, before Test for Echo. It says here, advertised with the tagline, expect the unexpected. Victor was a bizarre, exciting and disturbing one-off album that Lifeson used as an outlet for his imitable hard rock guitar style, in addition to dark and electronic ambient pieces that would have little congruence with other Rush material. Lifeson produced and recorded the project himself at his home studio, which is called Lurkst Sound, which is one of his nicknames, meaning that at last, Lifeson's eccentricities could finally be received by the listener unadulterated. So basically, we've got Alex Lifeson, unleashed, unshackled, no holds barred here on this album. The album is in essence a solo project, but Lifeson was careful to form a full band that functioned as such. Lifeson's decision to keep his name off of the cover perhaps hindered the sales of this album, but the album itself is nevertheless an artistically honest, if complex, piece of work.
Yeah, because I thought Victor was because it even just says it on the spine as well. So I thought it was a separate project on its own, but it's only now known as Alex Lifeson Victor, is in retrospect.
Yeah, definitely.
So you've got let's have a look at the lineup of the album. You've got
I was going to say I've got the lineup, but if you've got it as well, you might as well, and we'll go through it anyway, song by song.
So you've got obviously Alex Lifeson. Les Claypool from Primus does bass on the 9th track, but most of the bass is covered by Peter Cardinale.
Most of it is done by Alex himself. I think Peter Cardinale, or I don't think that's how it's pronounced. He only appears on 3 tracks. Les Claypool only appears on one track, The Big Dance. His mainstay on this are 2 people. Bill Bell does guitar.
Yep.
And it's Edwin, the lead vocals, which we're going to get into.
He was the
and Blake Manning, the drums. Yeah.
Blake Manning on drums, and Edwin was the vocalist in the band that was opening for Rush.
That's it.
So let's quickly find that band.
It's I'm Mother Earth, I believe.
Yeah. And then we've got Dalbello does
it's
vocals
Lisa.
on.
She does. She does. Lisa Darbello, Canadian singer. She does the vocals on one of these songs, which is "Start Today."
Yeah.
Which we'll talk about when we get to it. There are some anomalies on this, but obviously the bulk of the work is done by Lifeson himself. He does the spoken word.
On
Obviously,
2 tracks.
guitars, the keyboards, bass, mandola, and he also does some programming. Another interesting little bit of information that I found is also there is some additional program done by Alex Lifesons' youngest son, Adrian, but he's using his real name. It's Adrian Zivojinovic, which is Alex Lifesons' real name. Lifeson is a stage name.
Oh, I never knew that.
Yeah, because Alex Lifesons' parents come from Yugoslavia.
Oh,
okay. Or former Yugoslavia. So they were migrants over from after the war, Second World War.
Yeah.
So that is Alex Lifeson's real name. It's and I do apologise if I'm absolutely mullering the is Ivo Jinovic, or I don't know.
It sounded all right to me, but
but that's so.
But I wouldn't have known if you got it wrong. So.
Well, those who are speaking and know this, he does extra programming on just 2 of the songs, the big dance and at the end. That's the appearance of his youngest son on this. So that was quite an interesting little bit of.
Let's give a brief a brief initial thought before we get into the songs, and then we give a summary at the end. I think it's Alex having the car has pulled over and he's stretching his legs.
Yeah.
And having a breath of fresh air.
He's in complete control.
He's trying some stuff out, and maybe that will apply to Rush later on as he goes back.
Yeah,
but and there's also some stuff that wouldn't work in Rush, or just he wasn't able to do in Rush, and he's basically flexing his muscles and having a play around and seeing what else he could do. You could say it's an expression of his lack of guitar in the last couple of albums, but I think he's scratched that itch with counterpoints, so I don't think that's really much of an issue. But it's an odd album. I did read a couple of reviews of the album, and I think someone summed it up perfectly. Was he tries to do too much in one album?
I think so. I would agree with that.
If anything, it feels like you're listening to a sort of a compilation of a band that's done 3, maybe 4 albums, and you're like, this is interesting. I'd like to check out their albums now and expand the sound. Because I know we've just got 11 songs, and I think he's tried to ram too much in on one disc, and it's all a bit disjointed and doesn't quite flow. So he's sort of throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks, but he never moved on to see what did stick, because this is the only solo album he's done apart from the post-Rush project that
which is Envy of None, which we will obviously get to.
We'll get to.
It's quite a heavy listen. It's quite dark, isn't it, really? And I'm just going to quote, you've probably got it on your inside of your album sleeve. It basically says here, beware the thorns of the black rose of love, lest your soul they prick. It's all about the dark side of love, really. And it's got that sort of theme pretty much throughout, isn't it? So he is. I think he's just really letting rip on this album generally. I would agree with that comment. I think it is the same as well. I think he's tried to draw on too many influences.
Yeah.
And I think because of that, I think the
album. With that being said, though, there's some interesting stuff on this, and I do think that is good is really good.
Mm.
And the stuff that doesn't work kind of does it fucking falls flat on its face at some points. But it's a shame because it's like, yeah, I kind of see where it could have gone though. It's an odd one. But let's get into it.
Yeah, let's get into it anyway.
Right, so opening with Don't Care, it comes in with a real crunchy, sort of thick riff. It's got a good little beat underneath, so it comes over with this bam 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 bam, you know,
yeah.
And then you got a nice little lead over the top of that. It's a good rocking song. It's a heavy song. It's very of its time as well. It's got that kind of alternative, kind of grungy 90s feel to it. And the singer Edwin's got like a real kind of rough around the edges voice.
I was going to say, with regards to this Edwin, I think his voice absolutely fits well with the subject matter and the sound. And I thought, it's not out of place. And especially on this first track. I mean, he's
quite a versatile vocalist, actually, because he does quite a lot with his voice throughout the album. Like he adapts to the different styles and shades and textures of the songs. But on this one, he's going for it. Kind of reminiscent of Whitfield Crane, most notably for Ugly Kid Joe. Stop it, ladies. He's got that, he's got that rough voice. But so his voice thing, and he's kind of wailing over it night and day, But I just find the lyrics to this song though are just crap.
Well, it's quite, it is. Alex Lifeson got slated for these particular songs.
Yeah, and he's like, I'm gonna fuck you night and day. And it's just a bit cringe. It's a bit really, and I was thinking, am I getting old? Am I getting a bit of a fuddy-duddy? But I'm just thinking, no, it doesn't fit. It just doesn't. It's a bit juvenile. It's a bit.
Well, it is
crude.
It is crude. Let's just say.
I'm not one for offensive lyrics or anything like that. But it just doesn't suit. That's the problem with it.
No, it's not. Put it this way, folks. It's not Neil Peart.
Yeah,
they're not Neil Peart lyrics.
Yeah, and it's not that. This is. Is he trying to be ironic, and I'm just not in on the joke? I don't know. But
it might be. Because obviously,
do it hard.
It is. I mean, I'm looking at the lyrics now. It just, do it hard, make me free. Do it hard, make me free. Don't want your pity, don't want your care, don't care for giving, don't care for fair. Don't want your kindness, don't want your heart, don't care for wanting, don't care for smart. And then this line, I'll come to you from behind. You know my touch will not be kind. You'll feel my loveless power bind. Loveless power bind. No feelings here that you can find. Oh, and then this is actually a bit cringy. Between your legs I will lay. On your back you better stay. And then the line that you've already quoted comes in as well. It just I wouldn't say it's Alex Lifeson's finest set of lyrics.
You would be forgiven, wouldn't you, if, say, like, I don't know, if a good rock band, and then those lyrics were like on an early demo of this is some stuff I wrote when I was 18.
Yeah, and I just put this on. Yeah,
but this is a well-established, more than established musician at this point. This is
of course.
This is someone who's part of an act that's sold millions of records all around, put some of the most pioneering albums in rock music, in progressive rock music.
Yeah, and
he's putting out a solo album, and that's the opening track to his solo album. Is a guy going, "I'm gonna fuck you," exactly. In between your legs. It's just like, can you imagine just being a lifelong Rush fan? Oh my god, Alex Lifeson's got a solo album. I'm going to put this on.
Yeah, But he did get
Yeah,
some real bad publicity about this, and Rush fans really sort of voiced their disapproval
yeah.
of these particular set of lyrics, and
Which is a shame because the
I
guy
mean
is a good
musically,
yeah.
musically, I think it's good, and you've got an
And
odd
it's a good
time,
rocking
yeah,
number. It's got a
yeah,
good
it is,
heavy.
yeah, you got, and it's got the odd time signature again in there. It's sort of it's how you read it, but it's 7/4 or 4/4 and in a 3/4 bar, and so it's got that slightly jagged feel to it as well. Yeah, the guitars are quite heavy on this anyway, and like the solo bits he's doing, they're really squealy, and I suppose it just sets up the mood for those lyrics anyway. But I think they deserved better lyrics than that, you know.
Yeah,
So yeah, a very put it this way, it gets your attention. The opening song, you think, oh right, okay, whether you agree with it or like it or not, you're in the album now.
yeah,
So that's it. We're on the journey of Alex Lifeson. You
yeah.
know, that's it.
Um, Right, so moving on to Promise. This is the one track I do think this should have been on a Rush album.
Yeah, it could have been.
Um, I like the calls, I like the boom. You know, it's a good catchy number. It's got this gorgeous little section in the middle as well with a really nice solo. It kind of goes all sort of ambient and weird, like this
Yeah.
nice little pulse. It's got some good drums on this album as well, but you do think, because there's a real good sort of beat underneath it, and it real sort
Yeah,
of
it is.
carries the riff. And I
Actually,
thought, but I was thinking, I wonder what Neil would have done with that.
yeah. I mean, Blake does.
And
I think Blake does a good job on this album.
yeah, sorry, Blake.
He does do a good job on this album.
Sorry to you've played on an album with Alex Lifeson, whose entire career has been with, or most of
Well,
the
certainly
90% of his career
yeah.
has been with like the greatest drummer that ever walked the face of the earth. So sorry, you're the Blaze Bailey of drumming on this review. I'm afraid, mate. You're going to be judged for not being Neil Peart, which sorry, but
Well,
but
yeah,
I
we're
was just on
trying not to.
Promise. I was just thinking, that was the one song. I was like, I wonder what Neil would have done with this, and I wonder what Geddy would have done with this, because the musically,
Yeah.
I think would be very suited on a Rush album.
Oh, this one was. I mean, that the intro riff on it. It's got that. It is a nice Rush riff, really. And I think some reviews said that it's almost fly by nightish with the sort of sound he's got on it.
Yeah,
I like that quiet interlude, and I've put down here because I was just jotting down odd notes here. It is a cross. It's a typical sort of interlude, and where it takes it down like Rush would do. But I think it's a curious cross between Rush and Pink Floyd. I think
well, that's
solo
interesting.
because
Okay,
I think Lifeson's solo reminds me a little bit of Gilmour. Dave Gilmour. He's got that. I mean, it's still Alex Lifeson, but he's sort of just the feel of it. It's Gil. If you put that on Pink Floyd somewhere, it wouldn't sound out of place to me. Perhaps that's just my own opinion, but that was my comment of it. Again,
definitely one of the later albums.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, more of the Pink Floyd later,
yeah,
not what you would call the classic. I'm talking about like Momentary Lapseries and Division Bell, that era, post Waters.
yeah.
It sort of reminds me a little bit of that. On this one again, odd time signature. You wouldn't think it, but it toggles between 4/4 and 5/4 times in the choruses. And also a couple of other places it does it as well, but you wouldn't think it. Again, it's sort of you can hear them pivot points, but they almost go unnoticed. I think with Rush fans generally they quite liked this particular song, and I dare say the comment you said about what would Geddy and Neil have made of this idea. It's always, and also I dare say the lyrics.
Well, apparently he met Jimmy Page,
Mm.
who is like his hero, and he gave him a copy of this album. And I wonder what Jimmy Page thought when he, mind
listened
you,
to it.
did he even listen to it?
Well, you never know. You don't
Yeah.
know with these people, do you? You know.
I
But
think
again,
as a guitarist, I think a guitarist would
I would have thought
hear
so.
some interesting stuff on it because again, it's Alex Lifeson. There's some fantastic solo stuff on this.
Oh yeah, there is. There is definitely.
The instrumental track's pretty interesting as well. So yeah, there's stuff on it, but it's just
Yeah.
It's
missing a few ingredients, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's it. And the ingredients are, of course, Liam Peart. You know, I dare say if it was Rush, the lyrics would be a bit different to what we've got here as well.
But I do like Promise. I think this one's
it's not bad. Not a bad number. It it jogs along quite nicely. Certainly, I certainly wouldn't skip it. It's certainly all right to listen to, and I haven't played this in the car. I mean, what's it like to listen to it in the car when you're driving? Would you call it driving music?
It's a good driving song, yeah.
Okay. What about the first one though? What was that like?
Starts off well and good, but again, the lyrics just ruin it. It just doesn't suit it at all. It's,
no.
Again, you would be forgiven if they were like, "Oh, we were being ironic. We was making fun of the cliche of a rock star or something like that."
Well, it's possible. It's possible it might be.
It shouldn't need to be pointed out at this point. You need to make it apparent that you're taking a piss out of someone, But
that's true.
But it's a shame because it's a good main riff from the structure of the song isn't actually that bad.
No, it's not.
It's certainly not an album opener, I don't think.
No.
But anyway,
no. But there you go.
Moving on to Start Today. This is the highlight of the album for me. I was listening to, right, so Promise, I was like, oh yeah, this would easily fit on a Rush album.
Mm-hmm.
And I do really like this song actually, but I can't help but think, what would it be like if Rush did it? But Start Today, we've got, what's the lady's name on it?
Lisa Dalbello.
Yeah.
I think that's how it's.
I wish she did the whole album. I think this is the really interesting song on it, and I think I'd like to have heard an album like this. I think you've got a big, nice main riff, that bam, 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 good drums underneath it as well. Yeah. And then she does this kind of quaint sort of spoken word with this sort of ironic. You're for such a man, you're such a child. Da, 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 da. And then bang, and she kicks these vocals out during the chorus. She really goes for it, and then it cuts into this lovely clean music. And then she's got this, and she's fucking brilliant.
Yeah, she is good on this.
Wow, this woman.
Yeah,
and I just thought I'd like to have heard more of this.
Yeah, it would have been
going for it, and not only that, we were just slacking the lyrics off on Don't Care. Start Today's got really good lyrics.
Yeah, they're not bad on this. Not bad at all. I mean, I'm looking at the lyrics now. Yeah, it's and she puts in such a good performance, and when she goes into like the chorus parts and really high pitch, that's sounding, you would think that it was Geddy from the 70s. Really, I've read pitch.
That. Yeah, I'm not sure I agree with that, but I get what people meant. Yeah.
I think it's just the way she phrases certain things, but it's. I think somebody said it's an interesting marriage of Geddy Lee's voice from the 70s and what it would sound like on a 90s Rush record.
Yeah,
with all the production and stuff like that, and that was the comment.
I'll tell you who she reminded me of actually is Skin from Skunk Anansie,
right?
Who's again fantastic singer, and Skunk Anansie are a fantastic band. She's one of the best singers this country's produced. I think one of the best bands as well. And what I love about Skin as well is that she can just open it up and hit it.
Yeah.
But she doesn't. Not when she doesn't have to, No. She's not like your Adele or something like where it's just just but when she wants to, when she can, when the song needs it, she just wows. And and the vocals on this song remind me a little bit of a
I
Skunk and
think,
Nancy song, actually.
yeah, I think with me, yeah, I can see where you're coming from on that. I think for me, the other one is sort of reminded me a little bit because she sort of sings a bit high is Tori Amos.
I don't know much
I
about
don't
Tori
know that
Amos.
much
Yeah,
about her herself, but the ones I've heard, she can sing and go into this higher register
when needed. Yeah,
when needed. So it sort of smacked a little bit of that. But initially, when I listened to this, I thought it was Geddy on this one. You know, it just certain phrases were that she's put on there is very reminiscent of how he
yeah. I'm just
in the
thinking
earlier days.
the
But it
song.
wouldn't have been Geddy in the 90s.
No, I'm just thinking the song of Tori Amos I'm most familiar with is
Oh,
Cornflake Girl.
that's it. Yeah,
And yeah, the chorus of that she does quite.
she
It kind of goes off on one. Yeah.
yeah that yeah
Yeah.
exactly, and that's sort of the thing that sort of reminded me a little bit of her. But this Lisa Del Bello, wow, I mean, she's just got a personality all of her own. Absolutely superb.
Yeah, and like the verses are kind of sort of spoken word,
Yeah, it's more
not just
narration.
spoken word,
Yeah,
but more narration. And but she's really animated with it. She's got a lot of personality and a lot of character. And it's a shame. I'd like to have heard more of her on this album.
yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame she wasn't on it.
He should have made an album of her because this is the highlight of the album for me.
Yeah, yeah, I wouldn't disagree there. I've just put vocal performance fantastic. Love obviously the main riff, but on this you've also got where it cuts back a little bit. You've got a signature Lifeson arpeggiated guitar line in the refrain bit. It's just Rush all over. That is. So yeah, it's a little gem on the album, I would say. And I'm just trying to look at the lyrics here. Yeah, yeah. I think was it clear your mind of those things gone by. You can't change the past. Why even try? You can build upon all you've learned. You can start today. That's the chorus part. Yeah, I'm looking at that one that you mentioned. Yeah, you can hurt like no one can. You're such a child for such a man. You need strength. You need to take a stand. Just
Did
stop
I say
looking
it the
to.
other way round? For
Yeah,
such a man,
you
you're such a
might.
child.
You may well have done. You may well have done.
Yeah.
Just stop looking to me for a helping hand. When you're ready, I will be here. I can help you lose your fear. You better stand up on your feet if you ever want to feel my heat.
Yeah.
A little bit of innuendo, perhaps there.
Well, I hope so, because it
Yeah.
wouldn't work any other way.
Well, yeah, exactly. So yeah, yeah, I don't think it. I think of the three, I probably this is the one I like the most of the three that we've done so far. But
Yeah.
we've still got a little way to go yet with the rest of them.
So followed up by Mr. X, which is an instrumental track, which is pretty much just a stock studio track with an excuse to Alex to just do a bit of fret wanking over. It's quite a nice melody going through it in the middle of it.
yeah,
So you've got that
that's what.
bam, 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 dun, 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 dun. That's quite nice.
Yeah,
But
it's a nice melody hook on this, and I think actually it's quite subtle underneath, but the bass and the drums are quite nice on this one.
Yeah, okay.
I think it's quite a nice little instrumental. I think the only criticism is that possibly it's slightly too short.
Yeah,
Because
possibly.
it sort of gets in and gets out and finished. You know, it's not that long at all. I don't know what I'm just trying to look up what the length of the song is. I think it's under. Oh, I've got the list here. What the songs are. Track listing. Here we go. Mr. X. Oh, it's 2 minutes 21.
Yeah, it's nothing.
It's nothing really, is it? It doesn't hang around long enough to get bored of, which is reminiscent of early Rush.
Yeah.
So Uh, yes, I think the longest song on it so far that we've done, Don't Care, 4 minutes, 4 seconds. Promise is 5 minutes, 44. Start Today, 3 minutes, 48. So this is the shortest one so far. No.
Next up, then we've got the longest song, which is just slightly over 6 minutes. Let's get me mic sorted, and that's At the End, which is like a slightly sort of ambient, kind of leaning into industrial, sort of soundscapey track with Alex doing spoken word over the top.
Yeah.
I'm not really too keen on it, although I do quite like some of the music. I like some of the keyboards. It kind of reminiscent of like a soundtrack. Oh, there is a sort of sung bit in there. It's like is there like a little
there are
background, like a backing vocal?
there are some background, but I think that's done by Edwin.
Yeah.
And
So it sort of goes
the other guitarist.
yeah.
Yeah, Bill.
But it's mainly spoken word, and I do like some of the some of the keyboards.
Well, I do like the feel of this song. I like the feel of it musically.
It's sort of reminiscent of a sound. Like it sounds to me like something on a soundtrack. If I was listening to a soundtrack of a film, I'd be going, "Oh, this is quite good. This is quite interesting."
With regards to this, when I listened to this one again, I thought it reminded me of something that I think it's more to do with the programming. Oh, well, you had an accident there.
I just knocked a big.
Oh dear, yeah. I think all the programming and the layering and the atmospherics reminded me of Peter Gabriel.
Yes,
and
yes.
I've also seen a comment of Robbie Robertson as well, who did influence Peter Gabriel anyway. It was sort of that. So I sort of had that, and I thought, yeah, this would be some sort of thing that Gabriel would do with that. So I found it interesting in that respect that this is a bit different for Alex Lifeson. You wouldn't expect it. So I was I found it interesting because of that. Again, I've put down here, I like his soloing on this. It's quite clever. And again, I think it's sort of a little bit Gilmore, a bit Floydish to me, to my hearing.
Yeah, especially sort of momentary lapse of reason
era. Again, the later era of Floyd. It sort of
got a bit dreamy, didn't it?
Yeah, it did, yeah.
Soundscapey. That's a nice word.
That's it. That's the word, soundscapey. But I think what you're saying, like a soundtrack, is I think that's a good analogy. Definitely a good description of this one. I didn't mind it. It's just not what you would expect, I guess, from Alex Lifeson. So in that respect, full marks for him for doing something that you wouldn't expect him to do. But
what do we think then? Moving on, what do you think of Sending a Warning?
Oh, Sending a Warning. Wow.
You got that sort of.
It's quite a dark guitar.
It's that disjointy riff in it.
But it's quite it's got a certain swagger to it though.
Yeah.
I think once the bass and the drums come in, some good drumming on this song, actually. Some very, very nice breaks and just sort of playing around with the rhythm a little bit. Again, it's a slightly odd time signature. You got 5/4 interspersed with 4/4 on a lot of this as well. And it seems to build the intensity on this song. So I don't mind it. And again, I think because it's Edwin singing this one, isn't it? His voice suits it.
You've got that sending in a warning, and in that with that echoey effect on it, which this is the thing. So all week I've been going, what a weird album. I don't like this album. But then bit by bit, certain songs did start to crawl into my head. I was like, that's starting to stick in my head a little bit now, and I'm getting little earworms. But it's quite an interesting track.
It is. And I was sort of looking at.
Are you ready to move on?
I'm happy to move on unless you want to make any comments about lyrics, or is it a case that the lyrics didn't really
I
leap out at you?
didn't really stick out to me.
I was
Excuse me,
just
one
looking.
way or the other.
Yeah, I'm just
Some
looking.
lyrics that did stick out to me though is the lyrics for the next song. Shut up, shutting up, and
Yeah, yeah. This is I must admit, when I heard this, I found myself laughing. I mean,
yeah, but was you laughing for the right reasons?
it just I just thought it was quite. I just found it humorous. I mean, it's effectively an instrumental. It is
Yeah,
effectively an instrumental, and you've just then got two women talking, they're bitching about their other halves, and one of them is Alex's wife, Charlene, and the other one is Charlene's best friend Esther.
yeah, but the thing
And
is, it's not as funny as it's trying to be.
I
It's
know, but it's still, I
yeah,
think, just the way it comes across. And obviously, at the end of this, you got Alex himself telling them to shut up. and
yeah.
it's, but again, it underneath this, there's some great guitaring going on, some brilliant solos, and he does the big screaming solo sort of in the middle of it. A good bass line on this as well. So it's very the comment with this is that it's very Zappa-esque, Frank Zappa, because of the narration.
Yeah, what was that? Is it
Dynamo, yeah, Dynamo Hum
Valley Girl?
and Valley Girl.
Yeah.
I've also got
I was
Cosmic
like, and you was
Debris.
like, and who was like,
Yeah,
and then like,
exactly. It was a bit much that. I mean, I'm
yeah,
not a massive fan of Frank Zappa, whereas obviously some people actually, loved what he did. But yeah, Dynamo
I've
Hum.
never done a deep dive on Zappa,
No, I
but I
haven't
know he did
either.
over 100 albums, something ridiculous like that.
Yeah,
And
there's
then
a
that's before you
lot.
even get into the live bootlegs.
Mm,
It looks like you'd need one of these just for Frank Zappa alone.
yeah.
My uncle did do me a, like a blank CD.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Um, just to my family dog, no, my mum's family dog
Mm.
was called Zappa,
Okay.
and that was after yeah. So it must have
Yeah,
been
obviously, yeah.
my uncle's.
Obviously, some influence, and
Yeah, my
obviously
mum had
held.
4 brothers. My mum was one of 6, and yeah, they had a black Labrador called Zappa. So
That's fair enough.
so
Yeah.
I said to my uncle, "Where do I start with Frank Zappa?" And he said, I'll make you a CD." Hold on, bear with me one moment.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, folks. Definitely Frank Zappa was the influence, and there are other parts where it's a little bit Zappa-esque as well on this album, but this one in particular is the one that sort of leaps out. And I had to sort of backtrack a little bit and listen to some of the Frank Zappa stuff. And as I say, certainly when I found Valley Girl, I thought, oh yeah, I can hear the influence and where it came from and how he put this together. This
I mean, the
particular song.
soloing on it is quite good and all the rest of it, but it's
Yeah,
just the first time it's amusing and I get it
yeah,
and all the rest. But after
yeah.
a while, it's like this is just annoying.
No, no, that was just it.
Yeah,
I'm just saying, as a one-off,
yeah.
it was funny to listen to. Um, it just, but as you said, after that, it just wears a bit thin with it, But it was it. I don't know how much you heard, but I was with Zappa. I had to sort of go back and just have a little listen to some of the Frank Zappa stuff just to see it. And it was saying I put them 3 songs down: Dynamo, Cosmic Debris, and Valley Girl in particular. You can sort of hear it. You can hear the influence of that. But he's also got a little. It's a little bit. The previous song, that Sending a Warning, is also a little bit Zappa as well. Some people said that could have fitted onto a Zappa
Yeah,
album.
that main riff is
That riff, yeah. I think it was because that's like, yeah, offbeat. And I thought, yeah, probably what I've heard of Frank Zappa, it probably good. So, yeah. no, I've got nothing more to say about shut up, shutting up. I think we better shut
Right,
up
this is the
about it.
thing. This is the point now where it's the album is just like, let's just put this on. And so next up we got it's strip and go naked.
Yeah,
Is this, if I remember correctly, is this an instrumental? Or is
it
this
is.
one's,
It is an instrumental.
and
It
it's
is.
acoustic, isn't it?
Yeah, I actually quite like the feel of this one.
Yes.
Because you've got this that acoustic, it's a mandola he's playing on this. It
Yeah.
to me, it's very Led Zeppelin. Very, very Led Zeppelin feel to me. Just that the feel of that.
Yes. Right.
It's got that lovely,
That opening, dun, 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 dun,
yeah,
it actually reminds me of Fleetwood Mac.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
as well. Yeah, definitely.
What's the song? If you think about me now, and
The
you
chain,
yeah,
the chain. Yeah,
and then at
yeah.
the end, you got the Grand Prix.
That's right. Yeah, the Formula One. Yeah,
Is that
yeah.
a chain? The
That's
opening
the
part of
chain.
the chain. It
Yes, it
reminded me
does.
of that.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see. Yeah, but, but initially for me it was Led Zeppelin. I thought,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I can definitely hear some Zeppelin there. Sort of reminiscent of things on Led Zeppelin 3, that sort of era of theirs.
There was a lot of acoustic and sort of folky stuff on that album, wasn't
Yeah, there was. Yeah, so that sort of. But the thing I like about it is that then when it sort of just goes up a gear, you get this lovely slide guitar coming in, which is not played by Alex, it's played by Bill Bell. And that slide guitar reminds me of Steve Howe of Yes. And
it?
also, Gilmore does slide guitar as well, but to me, more like Howe of Yes. So there's a few different little influences on this one. I do like his solo on this one. It's a nice.
The soloing goes without saying, though. They're
Yeah, but I think in particular I like the sound. It's quite clean. It's quite a clean sound he's using on this, and yeah, I think and I like the way he phrases it. It sounds really really nice. I think with regards to the soloing, probably a bit of a highlight for me. I did,
No, this is quite a good song. This is,
yeah,
yeah.
I quite like this one.
Next up, then we got the big dance, and this is
Ah,
where things actually get quite heavy. And
yeah, this
Les Claypool from Primus
Primus,
guests on
yeah,
this one.
yeah,
Um, you wouldn't really know without reading it. He doesn't really. Les is quite flamboyant, shall we say? I think
yeah.
he could have done a bit more with him if he was in the studio. Maybe got him to do some vocals or got him to do something a bit
Well,
crazy.
again, yeah. I mean, obviously Edwin's doing the singing on this.
Yeah. Oh, he did
Yeah,
do the vocals, did he? Oh, okay.
yeah, he did do the vocals on this Edwin. It's I thought this one is quite a relentless track, isn't it? It just sort of really pushes on and pushes on. It's quite a menacing sound. Some say, and I think the comment I've seen somewhere, and it's got an almost industrial feel
Yeah,
to
I
it.
mean,
You
maybe
know?
one of their lighter moments, maybe their more commercial moments, but yeah, it's something like Nine Inch Nails or
Yeah,
something like that.
yeah. But I like the little. It does do a few little cutbacks, which I quite liked.
Apparently, Nine Inch Nails, by the way, aren't actually 9 inch nails. It's 9 inch
Inch
nails.
nails, yeah, 1 inch nails, yeah, yeah. There you go.
one,
Yeah. I wonder how they came up with that name. Was it a case of think of a name, and
yeah,
someone saw 1 inch nails? Oh, let's call ourselves 9 inch nails.
yeah,
It just
yeah,
fair enough. But you
yeah.
remember it, don't
They're
you?
not called four candles. They're actually called
No,
four
it's not. Yeah,
candles.
oh, if they're called four candles, yeah, yeah. uh, or O's. Got any O's? It's all right, folks. We're now disappearing into the two
Yeah,
Rodneys here. Just, um, I do you like this song? Uh,
it's all right.
the big
It
dance.
kind of just comes and goes. Really, it doesn't. I
I
was neither in or there
think
with it.
I think this is the longest track on the album.
No, the longest track is the title track, which is
Oh
coming up
yes,
next.
which is coming up next. Beg your pardon, not the big dance. Sorry, I've got my times all over. Yes, yes, it is the title track that's coming up is the longest. Yeah, that beats at the end, which was the longest. So yeah, yeah. I've got nothing more to say about it. I think again, it, like you said right at the beginning, I think there's just too many styles that he sort of tried to cram in, and this is another one
Yeah,
with
yeah,
the
it's gone a bit.
industrial part. I think possibly, I don't know. I, it would have been interesting to have Les Claypool play on a couple of the other songs.
Yeah, yeah, maybe put some input
It
in
might
as
be
well.
that he was just busy doing other things, obviously with Primus or whatever. You just don't know, do you?
All right, well, let's move on then to the title track, Victor. Again,
Victor,
it's an
yeah.
interesting exercise for Alex to have done. Is it really necessary for us to have heard it though? Apparently, this is
No.
based on a poem
Yeah,
that goes a bit longer than me.
yeah.
I'll give Alex his narration is good.
Oh, I think his narration on this is fantastic.
Yeah,
He sort of almost whispers it
yeah, and
with that dark,
it
menacing
it he
undertone.
tells the story quite well. The backing
Mm,
track that dun, 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 dun,
yeah,
and the way the music goes again, very movie soundtrack. It would have worked perfectly in a film in the right context.
yes, it would. Yeah.
Um, it reminds me something of like from the American Beauty soundtrack or something.
Mm, yeah, yeah,
When every film that came out after that had pretty much the same show with that boom, 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 boom. Every film after American
yeah,
Beauty,
yeah.
that
Everyone
that
milked it to
particular
death.
film, yeah,
Yeah, they milked that one to death, really, didn't they?
yeah,
That
and
sort of
like if someone was
approach.
sneaking around or being chased, it'd be like boom, 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 boom.
Yeah,
but
exactly. Yeah, it was.
but I do think in the right context, this would work. The music from this would have worked very well in a film.
Yeah,
Um,
I. Yeah,
and yeah, although he's telling the story quite well, his narration of the poem is very good. But once I'd heard it once, it wasn't something I felt like revisiting, and I did
no,
feel
no, no,
myself
no.
skipping the track when I was.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Um, I mean, it is a very dark poem by W.H. Auden, an English poet, and basically it's
I'm
all
familiar
about.
with his work.
Yeah, you are familiar with his work, yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. I've got
You've got it.
everything he
You've
wrote.
got you've
Yeah,
got volumes and volumes of it. Yeah, I mean, I'm always looking to pick up
yeah.
what this gentleman W.H. Auden wrote. And obviously, I mean, the setting of it is about the character murdering his cheating wife. So, but the thing that struck me about it is there's no guitar on it at all. It's all programming and there's some bass on it, which is played by it's that Peter Cardinale who plays the bass on this particular song. And then you've got the appearance of a Colleen Allen who plays the horns, which I quite like the horns on this. It captures the mood quite well. Um, but yeah, I mean, short of a sort of like quoting big chunks of this poem on air, I don't really have anything more to say about it. Really, I mean, you just have to read right way through it, and there is a lot of narration. And if they did you say he cut this down from what?
Apparently, I didn't say it, but
Oh,
I have read also. Yeah,
yeah.
it was much longer.
Oh, right.
The
Okay.
original
So
poem.
it. Okay.
I mean, it says a poem. I mean, the
Wow.
Iliad is a poem.
Yeah.
You know, it
Yeah.
doesn't give you much of a in look on how long it is, but I'm
Yeah.
guessing
I think it,
the main bulk of his.
I think really it's possibly. I think just to quote the last lines of this, I suppose, of Victor saying, "He stood there above the body, He stood there holding the knife, and the blood ran down the stairs and saying, I am the resurrection and the life. They tapped Victor on the shoulder. They took him away in a van. He sat as quiet as a lump of moss, saying, I am the Son of Man. Victor sat in the corner, making a woman of clay, saying, I am Alpha and Omega. I shall come to judge the earth one day.
And so you should.
Exactly. And that is how it, that is the culmination of everything that went before. So again, very much in keeping with, I wonder, and I don't know for sure, whether Alex found this and it inspired him to write the rest of the album talking about the dark side of love, and or whether it just, he found it and it sort of sat in with everything else that had come before. I guess we'll never know.
I'll finish my beer. Well,
oh,
see how big that can is.
Yeah,
I've done 2 podcasts back to back for context, so this is why I chose this big.
Yeah. Well, you've needed some liquid. Yeah, you've needed some liquid sustenance, obviously.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I've got nothing else on that one. I've got nothing else at all.
Let's go for it then. Final track. This has been the shortest Rushcast.
Yeah, well, we thought this might be because there isn't an awful lot of information around.
No.
It. But also, well, I mean, we've listened to it and we've got our own views on it. So yeah, that's fair enough.
I quite like I Am the Spirit. Again, this sounds like a general sort of song that you would find on a rock band in the mid-90s.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of like a kind of grungy kind of, I don't know, I want to say grunge, but alternative rock.
It does once you get into it, but I think the beginning, the intro is quite
that clean, that boom 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 boom.
It's very very.
Yeah, that's nice, and then it gets into this. I am. It's got a nice vocal hook. I am.
Yeah.
And again, I was saying this film soundtrack. This reminds me of something that would have been on a film soundtrack, because back in the 90s and the early 2000s, the soundtrack pushed the film as much as anything else.
Yeah.
Like you would have the CD with the film poster on, and bands would be chomping at the bit to get on a film soundtrack. And and obviously you had like Quentin Tarantino films, and you know they all got to look at
and the James Bond franchise for a start.
Well, the James Bond franchise as well, but Clerks comes to mind as well, where you would just have these scenes of Clerks is just about some bums that work in a shop basically, and it's a great line from it. This job would be great if it wasn't for the customers. But it's like these sort of
but that's true. It's true.
It's like these indie. There was a lot of indie films in the 90s, and you would have these rock bands in the soundtrack, and it'd just be like a catchy little bit as they go from sort of in the Clerks soundtrack. There'd be music going from scene to scene. Really, there'll just be him walking from one bit to the next, with some music playing in the background, or the guy will be there reading a magazine, and then he'd go into this rant. But there'll be music in the background, and this reminds me of something like that. It'd be, I could see just some guys just sort of standing around having a discussion with this "I am" in the background, and yeah, I mean, this particular scene from Clerks, he was like, Return of the Jedi, always kind of, something about it didn't sit right with me. He's like, well, why? He went, well, in the original film, you had the Death Star, and the Death Star blew up. And then in Return of the Jedi, the Death Star, they're rebuilding another one. So it's all under construction. And then they blow it up again. He went, but in the first film, there was all members of the Force, like the dark side of the Force and the Empire, they were all evil. But on the Return of the Jedi, that would have just been full of construction workers. They're not political. They just got hired for a job. If someone asks you to rewire a building, you don't care if the guy who owns the building is what his political beliefs are. You just take, you just want to do some wiring, and I mean, if they're the Empire, that would have been a government contract. That would have come with all sorts of benefits, and the welders on that wouldn't have.
Yeah.
It's just like, I can't watch Return of the Jedi because of all the innocent
Yeah,
construction
yeah, I know.
workers.
But that's it. And then, of course, yeah, I mean, you could
Yeah.
really go to town
But
with
then
that
this
and
guy
say, I
goes,
feel
sorry,
sorry. Yeah.
I've overheard your conversation, and as a contractor myself, we always look into a builder goes with his morals, not his wallet. Take care, guys. And he just walks off with his coffee. And they're like, all right, well. But there's this music playing in the background. I can just picture this. Yeah, this would have been on the soundtrack to Clerks, basically.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm playing that as a compliment. I quite like this song. It's quite a catchy little number.
Yeah, it's not. I think it's the most uplifting lyrically, and I think it's a good way to finish the album off. I think it finishes the album on a bit of a high, to be honest with you. But you saying about the Return of the Jedi and the construction workers, imagine them they're being on there and they're working. Those people who are doing overtime would have been really gutted. You know, it just anyway, that's how my mind's working on this. No, I would say possibly these are probably some of like they're not a bad set of lyrics on these, so not a bad effort by Alex Lifeson on this one, and certainly an awful lot better than the first track. The lyrics on that one, definitely. So yeah, I mean, a lot of the I am, and it's yeah, I think it's quite a nice uplifting song. Again, I quite like the riff. I like the dynamic at the beginning, and I like the way it brings everything down, which is very reminiscent of Rush again. And again, Alex Lifeson brings in one of his signature sort of picking patterns, and yeah, I think he finishes this album as high as it possibly could.
Yeah.
For me anyway, and it's I think it's about 5.5 minutes, isn't it? I think.
Yeah.
This one.
So all is well that ends well. It's a bit of a journey, this album. It feels longer than it actually is.
That's true.
But it's just, I don't know. Let's sum it up then. What do we think of Victor?
Well, it says here, and I'm going to just quote some of this. With its songs ranging from the Zappa-esque novelty track "Shut Up, Shutting Up" up to the macabre spoken word murder ballad of Victor, via the beautifully melodic instrumental Mr. X, Victor is an album of rarely paralleled variety. While it is often overlooked by even die-hard Rush fans, it documents one of Lifeson's proudest achievements as a recording artist. I don't know whether you would agree with that. For me, it's a bit of a mixed bag. Yes. I think for me, and that's being really honest about it, I think there are some good bits on here, some good songs, and there are some not so good songs. And they're like yourself, I know I've listened to this album several times all the way through, but if I listen to it again, I'd be skipping certain songs for definite. It's there. It's part of the Rush, extended Rush catalogue, and it is what it is. Some good playing on it, I think, from the musicians that he's got on board. What else was there on this one? The only thing, I've got some liner notes about it, and you've obviously got them on the CD. It says here, the album cover features a collage of photographs from longtime Rush photographer Andrew McNaughton, while the inlay, as well as a series of monochromatic photographs, features a grey on grey image.
Everyone did that back in the day. The amount of fucking albums that had an album thing like that. There's so many albums where you could just tell they're from the 90s just by looking at the front cover. Yeah.
And it just says the main lyrical thing.
Elton John's got an album like that. And I think there's all the Look, there's all of them now. I did show that earlier.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
Yeah.
There is a picture of the.
And look, and there's a look. See, look, there's a coffee stain in the corner there because
Yeah.
you know we put mugs on the desks and there's coffee rings and
Yeah.
we put them there because you know it's
Yeah.
pop art, darling. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. That's it.
Oh look, and there's a is that a cigarette stain? I don't
Yeah,
know.
I think it
Yeah.
might be. Actually, it's a burn of some kind, isn't it? So yeah. The only thing I would say, oh right, here we go. Not that it's really um important as such. Chart positions. Canada, it was number 71. It did not chart over here in the UK, and in the US it was 99. But they still reckon it
I
might
don't
have
think
sold.
it.
It
Yeah.
might have sold better if it actually had Alex's name on it.
It probably would have sold. I mean, did he tour? Do you know?
No, he didn't tour this.
There is a music video.
There are certain videos, yeah.
Yeah, for Promise. I
Yeah,
noticed.
yeah.
Yeah, maybe if he toured, it would have done a bit better. Maybe did,
Might have done.
but I suppose it wouldn't have mattered to him one way or the other. He's just put it out, just have a go at this. I suppose.
Yeah, I think if he had a toured, it would have been an extremely short tour. And I dare say at that point, they were still. I think at this point, I think Geddy Lee's wife, I think, gave birth to a daughter. So he was spending time.
Well,
I mean, we'll discuss it
thrown
more.
some new songs in if they were looking at doing things. Maybe do a few covers. I don't know.
Yeah,
but,
you just don't know what all the ins and outs of what was going on at this time. So we'll catch up with it on the next album, Test for Echo, and which
mixed results.
Yeah,
ultimately a failed experiment, but an experiment nonetheless.
Yeah.
Victor by Alex Lifesons, ladies and gentlemen.
I think for anyone who's listening to this, I think if you want to listen to something a little bit different and something of like a variety bag, you sort of dip your hand in and you're not quite sure what you're going to get out, then this is probably an album that you might enjoy. And there's some highlights on it, there's some good ones, and there are some not so good ones, as we said.
So, right. Well, there you go, folks. We're going the entire journey, and this week was a slight detour. We'll be back on track on the next episode when we cover Test for Echo. And like I say, if you're working your way through the catalogue yourself, maybe use this as an introduction or a conclusion. Go back to the beginning and check out the albums yourself. This will be saved into a playlist. If you go into the channel, go along the top playlist, Rushcast, and everything we've done so far is there. And yeah, this is just part of the series. So go and have a look. And till then, just thanks for watching. Give us one of them and subscribe if you're new to the channel. And yeah, we'll see you next week for Test for Echo. Go listen to it and join us and give us your thoughts. What do you think of Victor? Do you think it is an underrated masterpiece, or do you think it should be melted down for glue? I want to know. Let me know in the comments. And yeah, on that note, I will see you soon.
Yeah.
Take care, everyone.
See you, folks. Have a good week.